Number 9. A brutal end. In April 2021, a young woman from Greenwich, Connecticut, was brutally attacked and killed by her boyfriend in their Lower East Side apartment. 23-year-old Sarah Coit was almost decapitated during the violent assault that took place in the early hours of the morning. The motive behind the attack was Sarah's attempt to end their relationship. 33-year-old Raul Barrera, the boyfriend responsible for the crime, confessed to the police, saying that he used a kitchen knife to fatally stab Sarah in their third-floor apartment at 65 Clinton Street. Witnesses recounted hearing Sarah's desperate pleas for her life, as she repeatedly screamed the word no and wanted him to stop. Her voice echoed through the apartment complex, alarming the people who lived there. A witness, 20-year-old Brianna Andelor, was staying in an apartment opposite theirs and shared her account of the sounds. Her friend, a resident of the building, told her that the couple had been having violent arguments for months, but the intensity of their fights was at an all-time high on the night of the murder. Andelor's description of the scene outside the apartment was grim. As Sarah was carried out by the police, officers warned onlookers to not look, as her head was nearly severed and her neck badly wounded. Another witness, 33-year-old Yost Bonner, a visitor staying in a neighboring building, recalled hearing Sarah's desperate cries for help. The distressing sounds persisted for around 20 minutes, and while concerned neighbors tried to find the source of the commotion, they could not find Sarah. They were shouting out questions, asking her where she is or in what apartment, but they eventually had to call emergency services. After the brutal attack, Barrera left Sarah's lifeless body on the floor and fled the scene. He called a relative who told him to surrender to the authorities. Acting on the advice, Barrera turned himself in at the 9th Precinct Station House, later being transferred to the 7th Precinct, which had jurisdiction over the area. During questioning, Barrera claimed that he and Sarah had been arguing about their breakup and stated that she had initially grabbed the knife, forcing him to disarm her. A police source revealed that it was Sarah who had initiated the decision to end the relationship. Despite the efforts of medical professionals, Sarah Coit succumbed to her injuries. She had been rushed to Beth Israel Hospital while still clinging to life, but passed away around 2 hours later. Sarah came from a privileged background, her father being Lind Coit, a Cornell-educated lawyer. The family lives in a $1.4 million home in Greenwich. Raul Barrera was charged with second-degree murder and appeared in court dressed in a gray t-shirt and sweats, maintaining a somber and silent behavior. He was sentenced to spend 25 years with a maximum sentence of life in prison. Number 8. Fight over laundry. In May 2021, in North Portland, Oregon, an argument between brothers escalated into a fatal confrontation, leading to the death of a woman. The shocking events unfolded on a Sunday morning when authorities arrived at the scene of a deadly dispute and took 25-year-old Shane Fennell into custody. While being detained, Fennell made an unsolicited statement, admitting to committing a horrible act. His admission was made while in custody, where he expressed remorse for his actions. The victim, 29-year-old Alexandra Arb Bloodgood, lost her life after being shot in the head by her brother-in-law Fennell in the backyard. Alexandra was married to Fennell's brother Jordan Arb. Jordan informed the police that the argument between him and Fennell initially erupted over laundry and escalated to the point where Fennell threw a potted plant at him. During the incident, Alexander was seated on a chair on the back patio, facing away from Fennell. During an interview with Portland Police Detective Ryan Foote, Jordan stated that Fennell approached Alexandra and shot her at close range in the back of the head using a revolver. As officers were on their way to the residence, responding to a 911 call about a shooting, they got more information that Arb Bloodgood had suffered a gunshot wound to the head and that Fennell was still in the vicinity. Upon arrival, neighbor Jacob Chow informed the police that he had gone downstairs after hearing the sound of a gunshot. He observed Fennell visibly distressed across the street from his porch and approached him to inquire about the situation. Chow said that Fennell was in a rage, flailing his arms and visibly upset. He asked Fennell what had happened, and Fennell confessed to shooting Alex, referring to his brother's wife. When Chow asked where the firearm was, the culprit said that it was on the front lawn of his residence. Chow then spotted a chrome-plated revolver with a brown handle on the front lawn and directed the arriving officers to its location. After their interaction, Fennell told Chow to call 911, which he did. Chow then advised Fennell to sit down on his front yard until the police got there. The murderer complied and stayed in Chow's front yard until officers took him into custody. Fennell was charged with second-degree murder and 1 count of unlawful use of a weapon. He was sentenced to a minimum of 22 years in state prison. Number 7. A threatened wife. In July 2021, in Oklahoma, a woman used an ATV to run over her husband during an argument. 35-year-old Chanel Lewis is now facing second-degree murder charges after killing her husband, Christopher Lewis. According to the authorities, the fight between the couple began over a disagreement about food, but quickly spiraled out of control. The situation took a dark turn when Christopher said he wanted a divorce. In response, Chanel threatened to run him over and end his life. Acting on her words, she allegedly climbed into an ATV and intentionally drove it toward her husband, fatally striking him. Pottawatomie County Undersheriff J.T. Palmer addressed the unprecedented nature of the incident, stating that this was the first time that they had encountered a case where someone deliberately used a vehicle to harm another person. He also stated that alcohol seemed to have played a role in the events leading up to the tragedy. Christian Cornett, Christopher's son, witnessed the horrifying incident and revealed that Chanel also tried to target him and his sister with the ATV during the argument. At first, Chanel was charged with manslaughter, but as the investigation progressed, the charge was upgraded to second-degree murder. The decision to increase the charge was based on the evidence and information uncovered during the ongoing inquiry. As of now, she remains in police custody, with her bond set at $30,000. Number 6. The dumb Facebook fight. On December 27, 2011, a heated Facebook argument escalated to the point where a Queens man shot and severely injured a high school basketball star, shattering his dreams of pursuing a career in the sport. According to prosecutors, 23-year-old McHarland Cotier fired 3 shots at 18-year-old Joshua Arrington, a 6'8" senior at Springfield Gardens High School. Because of the attack, Arrington suffered such severe injuries that his right leg had to be amputated. The incident unfolded after Arrington came across a post on Facebook about a female friend who was lamenting about unfaithful partners. Cotier, also a Facebook friend of the woman, responded by claiming that she would never find a good man with her negative attitude. Arrington, defending the woman's honor, got into a heated exchange with Cotier through Facebook messages. The argument escalated to the point where Arrington challenged Cotier to a physical confrontation, inviting him to meet on 185th Street in Hollis, which was nearby. Cotier arrived at the meeting location in a BMW and without warning shot Arrington twice in the stomach and once in the arm. Before the shooting, Cotier even taunted Arrington by sending a Facebook message announcing his arrival outside Arrington's home. Despite the attempted murder, Arrington survived, although the loss of blood necessitated the amputation of his right leg. During the argument, Arrington investigated Cotier's Facebook profile and discovered that they had attended IS 238 together. Approaching Cotier in a friendly manner, Arrington wanted to defuse the tension, recognizing their shared past. But Cotier responded aggressively, asserting that Arrington did not know him. Following the shooting, Cotier fled to Georgia to evade capture. He was arrested by the authorities while hiding out in a Metro extended stay hotel in Marietta, Georgia, surrounded by takeout menus and food containers. As the trial unfolded, a picture of Arrington wearing his school basketball uniform was shown to emphasize that he had been on the verge of receiving college scholarship offers before the incident took place. In defense of Cotier, his lawyer argued that the prosecution failed to produce concrete evidence directly linking his client to the crime. It was pointed out that Cotier's fingerprints were not found on the gun and challenged the absence of any DNA evidence connecting Cotier to the weapon. After agreeing with the prosecution, the judge sentenced Cotier to 25 years in prison. Do you think his sentence should have been longer? Let us know in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 5. The pandemic stress. In August 2022, in Pennsylvania, a man opened fire on a cigar shop clerk because he refused to wear a mask, furthering the tensions brought about by the pandemic. 35-year-old Adam Zaborowski was a resident of Slattington and was charged with 22 counts in Lehigh County. The charges against Zaborowski were specific, including 7 counts of attempted homicide, 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder of a police officer, 7 counts of aggravated assault, and 1 count of possessing a firearm while being prohibited due to a prior aggravated assault conviction. What's more, separate charges in Northampton County included attempted homicide, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of robbery, 2 counts of reckless endangerment, and firearm charges. While an official motive for the shootings has been disclosed, Zaborowski's defense attorney suggested that the stress caused by the COVID-19 pandemic played a role in his client's actions. Zaborowski had lost his job because of the pandemic and recently lost custody of his child, but these factors did not justify his behavior. It all started shortly before noon, when Zaborowski visited Cigars International in Bethlehem Township, Northampton County. Despite both the store's policy and Pennsylvania governor's mask mandates, Zaborowski refused to wear a face mask. The store clerk offered to serve him curbside if he preferred not to wear a mask, but Zaborowski kept arguing that he did not need one, even citing a line from Pennsylvania law. When the store clerk insisted on the face mask requirement, Zaborowski grabbed 2 cigars without paying and fled from the store. The store clerk went after him to get back the stolen items, at which point Zaborowski took out a semi-automatic handgun and fired 2 shots into the air before aiming 1 shot at the clerk. Fortunately, no one was injured among the patrons who were present outside the store during the incident. Zaborowski managed to escape the scene in a blue Dodge Dakota pickup truck before law enforcement could reach him. The next day, authorities were surveying his residence while waiting for the Municipal Emergency Response Team to arrive and execute an arrest warrant. But Zaborowski left his home and drove away in his vehicle before the warrant could be served. State and local officials went after him up to an intersection, where he got out of his vehicle and opened fire on them using an AK-47 and a semi-automatic handgun. The police returned fire, striking Zaborowski in the leg and buttocks. After the exchange of gunfire, they provided immediate first aid to Zaborowski, after which he was transported to a local hospital, where he was expected to recover from his injuries before being released to police custody within a few days. Zaborowski was arrested from his hospital bed a few days later, and bail was set at $1 million. Number 4. A quadruple homicide. In March 2021, on a Saturday night, a man shot and killed 4 people inside a house in Indianapolis after a dispute over a stimulus check with his daughter's mother, who had a restraining order against him. 25-year-old Malik Halfacre was arrested the next day after the shooting took place in a multi-unit house on North Randolph Street. He ended up killing 35-year-old Anthony Johnson, 23-year-old Daquan Moore, 7-year-old Eve Moore, and 44-year-old Tomika Brown. One survivor was shot in the back during the incident, and despite her injuries, she managed to give crucial information to the police, leading them to the location of the crime scene at around 8:30 p.m. The survivor obtained a restraining order against Halfacre in 2020 because of repeat incidents of harassment and violence. During an interview with the police, Halfacre admitted that he and his daughter's mother were engaged in an argument over her stimulus check just a little while before the shooting. He confessed to shooting everyone inside the house and then proceeded to take the money as well as his daughter's mother's purse and car before fleeing from the scene. 3 days later, the Deputy Chief of Investigations announced that Halfacre had been charged with 4 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 1 count of robbery. The final charging decision was yet to be determined by the sheriff's office. After the shooting, there was concern for the safety and whereabouts of 6-year-old Malia Halfacre, the child of Malik Halfacre and the surviving victim. Police got a report stating that the child was missing from the house. But at around 5:30 a.m. a day after the incident, Half-Acre's sister contacted the police and informed them that she had the missing child. She revealed that Half-Acre came to her home, dropped off the child along with all of the necessary belongings, and left. She also disclosed to investigators that her brother had admitted to killing 4 people and provided them with details about how the tragic event unfolded. Following leads from a witness, law enforcement learned that Half-Acre got help from a friend and was hiding at a house on East Ridge Drive, located on the east side of Indianapolis. After numerous hours of trying to persuade him to surrender, including the use of tear gas, a SWAT team entered the premises and discovered Half-Acre hiding in the attic. He was taken into custody without incident. As of now, he remains in custody while he awaits his sentence. Number 3. The greatest Star Wars fan. In November 2011, a man with an intense passion for Star Wars took the life of his Thai wife after she destroyed his beloved collection of Star Wars toys. 30-year-old Ricky Latouche had been collecting Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker memorabilia since his childhood. But a dispute started between him and his 28-year-old wife, Pornplay Srisroy, when she damaged his cherished collection. During their heated argument, Latouche suffocated his wife and then fled to his mother's house to confess to his unimaginable act. Later, the lifeless body of the young mother was discovered on their bed in Lee, Greater Manchester, covered with a duvet and pillow. Latouche informed the police that his wife had destroyed his Star Wars collection on purpose, as part of her campaign to make his life miserable. He portrayed himself as a submissive husband who snapped under the threat of his wife leaving him to return to Thailand, her home country. They first met in a bar during Latouche's holiday in Bangkok in 2001. Attracted to her, he married her in 2003 during his 4th visit to Thailand. But it wasn't until 2 years later that she obtained a UK visa. During the trial, it was revealed that Latouche had sought help from a domestic abuse hotline before the tragic murder. He claimed that his wife had assaulted him in the past, once hitting him with a pool cue and even threatening to kill him while he slept, vowing to dismember and consume him. When the police arrived at the scene, Latouche described the events leading to the incident, stating that his wife had repeatedly threatened to leave him, which caused their argument. He expressed that he only remembers getting off of her after he had choked her to death. A post-mortem examination determined that Pornplay's cause of death was asphyxiation, confirming Latouche's horrifying actions. While he admitted to manslaughter, the jury concluded that his actions constituted murder. After the trial, Latouche was found guilty of murder by a jury, and he received a life sentence with a minimum term of 12 years. Number 2. An angry Walmart customer. In September 2021, early in the morning, a middle-aged man was viciously attacked in a Walmart with a machete after a heated argument with another customer. The police received a distress call and immediately got to the Walmart located on Harrison Avenue just before 10:30 a.m. Upon arrival, they discovered the 43-year-old victim, a resident of Kearney, with a deep cut to the back of his head. By that point, the suspect had already fled the scene. The injured victim was rushed to the hospital for urgent medical attention and was later released after he made his recovery. According to the authorities, the victim and the suspect were both customers at the store's electronics department. They were standing in line, maintaining their appropriate physical distance as mandated by COVID-19 guidelines. They did not look like they were shopping together or had any prior connection. The exact cause that sparked the argument is still unknown. During the argument, a third customer tried to intervene and defuse the situation. But the suspect suddenly took out a machete concealed beneath his clothing and struck the victim in the back of his head. The impact of the attack was so severe that witnesses compared the sound to that of a gunshot. People scrambled, desperately trying to flee and avoid harm. An eyewitness recounted the terrifying scene, mentioning that amidst the commotion, he observed a woman being dragged away in an attempt to escape harm's way. After investigation, a 29-year-old Newmark man was charged with attempted murder, weapons offenses, and aggravated assault, and he was immediately taken into custody. Number 1. The gas station stabbing. On July 4, 2023 in the afternoon, A man lost his life after being stabbed following an argument. The authorities got a distress call about a stabbing incident just before 2:30 p.m. Upon their arrival at the gas station situated on US Highway 40 near Independence, they found a man inside the establishment who had suffered severe bodily injuries. Paramedics who quickly arrived at the scene declared the 42-year-old man dead. At first, the suspect responsible for the stabbing fled the scene, creating an urgent need for law enforcement to track down the attacker. But later in the day, detectives took a person of interest into custody. While the police did not immediately release the names of the victim or the suspect involved, grieving relatives who had gathered at the gas station later identified the victim as John Roan Jr. Jesus Aguilar, an eyewitness to the fight, recounted that the argument took place outdoors, involving a white man and a black man. As it turned out, racial slurs were repeatedly used during the argument, indicating a potentially racially charged aspect of the incident. Moments after the heated exchange, Roan entered the gas station, visibly injured from multiple stab wounds. As news of the stabbing spread, bystanders like Logan Todd rushed to help. Todd, equipped with the knowledge of CPR, entered the gas station to find Roan bleeding from multiple stab wounds near his heart. He immediately initiated chest compressions in an attempt to revive him. Todd remembered that there were around 7 people present in the gas station during his resuscitation efforts. Todd recalled that upon taking Roan's pulse, he recognized the absence of vital signs, indicating that Roan had already passed away before medical help arrived. Regarding the potential motive behind the crime, the police declined to comment on whether racial animosity played a role. As of now, the investigation into the matter is ongoing, and so far, no arrest has been made. Which of these arguments did you find the deadliest? Let us know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.